Hey, it's Thomas here. Welcome to another edition of BRStv Reacts, the awesome show where I get to check out all of your sweet tanks that you've got going on at home and, give you my praise, general thoughts, maybe some constructive criticism or helpful feedback if you need it. Overall, I feel like I just get to, enjoy everybody else's tank and drool over all of your awesome corals. It's kind of a sweet deal if you ask me. Today is going to be a Facebook edition, meaning these are all tanks that you guys have submitted through Facebook. And if you would like your tank to be seen, you can go ahead and hashtag it BRStv Reacts and we will find it. You can also check out how to do that by checking the comment pinned at the top of the comment section below. Let's get to it. Starting off today, we've got Francesca Viola. Some of these names are hard today, so forgive me if I get them wrong or I'm mispronouncing them. I'm doing my best. So let's see what you got going on here. Oh, very nice. Starting off strong. Great aquascape, sandbed's looking super clean, tank glass is looking clean, gorgeous fish, some nice wrasses in there, a bunch of nice wrasses in there, beautiful clowns, looks like a Scots there, ooh. Oh, pearly jawfish, one of my favorites, not gonna lie, I've always loved me some jawfish. Pintail fairy wrasse perhaps, really, really nice. I'm really digging this. So first off, your tank's super clean. Like it's in really nice shape. I don't know if you cleaned it up all nice before the shoot or if this is just like your baseline for your tank, but there's probably a good reason why your corals are looking so happy. Beautiful euphyllias, nice mixed system. So you got a bunch of softies in there like polyps and stuff too, some euphyllias, and then up at the top you've got a lot of your SPS, which is a really nice way to segregate your higher light corals from your lower light corals. A whack load of star polyps up there on the overflow, just having some fun. I mean, even some more challenging corals that you've got in here, like right at the beginning of the video, you've got that on the sandbed, that really nice elegance, and it's just all puffy and happy looking. All of your acans are nicely inflated and puffed up. Your recordias down in the front as you're panning across the tank that are right next to your setosa frags. Super colorful, super filled out and happy looking. Man, this tank, like, I don't know how old the tank is. It's obviously not super old, just based on coral sizes and growth. Like, you've got a lot of frags in here, depending on when you put them in, or what you bought as full colonies, or how late you put SPS in compared to the euphyllias, because a lot of your euphyllias are a pretty good size already, but the SPS are still pretty small. Yeah, this tank is gonna look amazing in like 6 months, 8 months. Those SPS are really gonna start filling in on the top of the rockwork there. It's gonna be pretty epic. Some of them are already like pretty well established. Like on that middle section of rock, you have a really nice orange digitata and then some sort of acropora, it looks like right beside it. And they both look like they've been around for a bit, multiple branches, looking pretty nice. Again, I don't know if you got those as larger colonies or if they were the first ones to go in type thing, but it looks like everything's really happy. The colors look great. I know we're heavy on the blues, but still, you can't fake happy corals. Just looking really nice. And the rockwork is really, really well laid out. You did a really good job. Now, I can't really see the top of the tank as much, so it's hard to tell how high you went up, but you did a really good job of keeping some good headspace for those acros. So it looks like it doesn't really go much past the halfway mark in the tank, maybe a little bit longer than that, or taller than that. Maybe just past halfway, approaching the 3/4 mark or 2/3 mark. But really smartly laid out, lots of open space between your pillars, and they're all connected with nice caves underneath and allowing for a lot of water movement around the rockwork. So you're gonna have very little trouble with debris kind of piling up in there. Really, really nicely done. Already a ton of coralline on the overflow there. I'm digging it. I'm really digging it. This is a nice tank, and it's only gonna get better. You obviously know how to reef. And I do know you mentioned you have a little bit of a cyano outbreak. It happens. Cyano is, I believe, I hope I don't get this mixed up with dinos, but cyano, no, I'm pretty sure I got this. Forgive me. There's a lot of knowledge in there, and sometimes sorting it all out, things get, wires crossed. But cyano usually shows up in systems where you have very low or non-present nitrate, but some or any like amount of phosphate. It doesn't even have to be high phosphate, just phosphate with almost none or zero nitrate. And the reason that is cyanobacteria is very, very good, which you wouldn't think just based on the fact that it's underwater, but it's very, very good at using atmospheric nitrogen in order to, continue on with its biological processes. So in environments where you have no nitrate, but you have some presence of phosphate, the cyanobacteria uses that phosphate and then uses the nitrogen from the atmosphere in the room, and it just takes over. Because other algae, like things like Bryopsis, hair algae, stuff like that, need both the nitrate and the phosphate to be present in the water. And then there are separate issues you can have from bottoming out phosphate and having some amount of nitrate in the water. So it's possible that if you have a really low nitrate reading, it's just a matter of bumping up your nitrates a little bit so that something else can work at it and outcompete the cyano. But I think a really good way to kind of go about it is trying something like CyanoClean. KZ CyanoClean does a pretty good job of taking small, especially on smaller cyano outbreaks, and just outcompeting it. Outcompeting it's the key thing to making sure that it doesn't come back. Just setting up an environment where cyano isn't the thing that is most likely to succeed, and then having something else like a bacteria that can outcompete it. Dr. Tim's Waste Away is probably a good option as well. So yeah, but beyond that, no, just, you can reef. Super, super nice. Really nice group of fish too. I'm a big fan of wrasses. I can't see if you have a lid on the tank. I'm just going to assume you do, but if you don't, you should get a lid on the tank. But again, can't see, just assuming you must have one. Letting anybody know who, might want that many wrasses as well. Lid's a good idea. Thank you so much for sending that in. That's a really, really great way to start off this React series. Next up, we've got Ken Fields. See what you got going on, Ken. So this is a 265 display, 300 gallons total volume with the sump, 10 years old, too much rock from installer's original install, but don't want to break down and lose the encrusted coral. Can't blame you there. Wow. Full up on coral, beautiful comet, AKA marine beta. Nice perchlet or wrasse that I see there. Well, I think it's a wrasse. Beautiful naso. Yellow tang looking beautiful. Oh, purple tang in there too. All looking super healthy. Using Tunes pumps for circulation. Some clowns in there too. You do have a lot of coral in here. Lots of growth. Lots and lots of growth. Everything's looking really nice. The SPS are doing well. You got Space Invader Pectinia, which is a really nice coral. That hammer's looking gorgeous. You have an absolute ton of coralline growing on your rock. I can't tell if it's foliating coralline, like coralline that's creating cups on top of cups on top of cups, or if it's some kind of like macroalgae that's on there. Forgive me, I'm watching these on Facebook and they're pretty small. But I mean, if that's coralline like it appears to be, that's awesome. That's a ton of coralline. This is a really nice mixed reef, like lots and lots of variety in coral. LPS, softies, I saw the grandest polyps earlier. Lots of different LPS in this tank. You got a beautiful neon green cabbage coral here. Honestly, one of my favorite softies in terms of leathers. Those cabbage corals are awesome. Nice, gigantic Euphilia again. Whoa, that torch is intense. Man, that thing looks amazing. Just blowing around like that. Looks fantastic, super healthy, lots of growth on that. You got a Gonipora there too, Goniopora, just looking absolutely amazing. Lots of cap. Monsipora just doing its thing. Is that a gold torch on the bottom or is that a plate coral? Either way. So everything's looking super happy. Nice blenny, great group of fish in this tank too. Looking really, really good. Yeah, your SPS are growing, doing well. You've got it looks like a green slimer at the top, on the right side of the tank, just already touching the surface. what looks like probably some form of like red dragon acropora there, getting all wispy. Mushrooms. There's some plates, nice short tentacle plate corals. Very, very nice. You know, I can appreciate that you took your time showing me like all the different parts of the tank where all the corals are from up close, starting off with that nice wide shot. I like it. I feel like I'm getting a proper tour of the inside of the tank, looking really, really nice. For me, a starfish on the back of the tank there, that red starfish. I wonder how long you've had that. There can be more difficult to keep for some people. In a tank that's 10 years old with that much established live rock and coral and fish, I'm not surprised if a starfish like that is finding enough food. But for most people, definitely not something you want to stick in a newer tank. They can be a little bit trickier to feed. Blue Linkia starfish, the red Phoromia starfish. Man, really, really nice. What a pleasant tour. I loved it. I loved it. I did notice some of the SPS look like they might be a little bit on the browner side. That's not really a massive deal. Getting SPS to, you know, grow and do well is one thing all on its own. At least when they're brown, you know they've got an abundance of zooxanthellae. They're not bleaching from having too much light. They're not being, you know, horribly irritated by chemical warfare in the tank, which can sometimes lead to those bleaching type events as well. You know, you've got enough flow. They're not building up with oxidants in the tissue, which could cause bleaching as well. Ultimately, if they're a little brown, sometimes there's too much light or there's just too much nutrients, right? So not the worst things ever. I've grown brown SPS and worried about coloring them up once they were a decent sized colony in the past. So I'm not going to pass any judgment on that. But if you're looking to color them up, it might just be a matter of bringing nutrients down just a wee bit. If you do have elevated phosphates or nitrates or anything like that, or it could just be a matter of increasing the light a little bit for them as well. And they are, for the most part, up in the tank. And I can see, especially on that right side, where you've got like that green slimer, and there's another one over there that's more on the purple and blue side of things. They look like they've got pretty good color. So I don't know. It's really up to you how you want to approach that. I don't think, based on how all of the corals in the tank look, that there's any actual problem you should worry about with the SPS. But if color is the goal, then there's definitely ways to do that. I mean, you could even go as far as using like the KZ system to reduce zooxanthellae. I mean, that's a much more advanced approach with a lot more paying attention to do with it. It's very, very hands-on and requires a lot of attention to track, but there's lots of ways to go about it if that's the goal. Ken, thank you so much for your submission. It's not often we get to see a super established 10-year-old tank looking good. Awesome cabinetry around that built-in system too. Just really, really cool. Lots of fun. All that coralline, holy. Next up, we've got Lucas Chen. Let's take a look at what Lucas has got going on. Oh, awesome. Smaller tank. Couple of really gorgeous clowns. Great rock work in this tank too. Love that big arch. Keeping things off the substrate. Lots of flow around it. Lots going on in this tank in terms of coral and anemones as well. And I saw that neon dotty back, just beautiful. Great looking little fish. Great small reef fish. So inquisitive. I love that you've got some gorgonians in here too. Softies, LPS. A little bit of algae here and there, a little bit of that green algae. Not a huge deal. Oh, Banzai cardinal in there too. Maybe, I don't know if that's a porites on the bottom there or if, or porites, depending on how you want to say it. Or if it's another encrusting coral. That gorgonian is really, really nice. It looks like a purple photosynthetic gorgonian. Really nice. That little bit of green algae is not a huge deal. I also love that you've got this set up as a peninsula system, so you can see it from all sides. Really fun way to do it. I love peninsula systems because, and any system that has more than one like decent sized viewing panel, because you get to kind of walk around your reef. You know, you kind of get to explore it the same way you would if you were like diving or snorkeling. You're looking down and you can kind of move around it from all sides. Things are growing all over the place. It's not just like a picture frame of corals. So that's always been like a super fun format for setting up a tank. Peninsula tanks or any tank you can view from more than one panel. is just awesome. Yeah, that little bit of green algae that you've got building up there, I mean, that could be something as simple as just watching the nutrient levels a bit in the tank. I mean, everybody gets green algae. If it's a green cyano, I do see some bubbles here and there, and I'm not sure if it's because it's a cyano or a dinoflagellate or whatever, but you know, you can treat it with something like KZ Cyano Clean. This is a very mild amount of algae compared to a big outbreak. And just check your nutrient levels like I was talking about on the previous aquarium that had that little bit of red cyano. But I mean, everything's looking really, really cool. Really, really nice. I also can appreciate that this is a slightly brighter tank. Like you've got a little bit more white pumped up in your fixture. I think you're using LEDs just based on the shimmer we got going on, but you do have your whites pumped up a little bit, or you're using some sort of lens on the camera. But either way, I like the aesthetic. It's really nice. Keeping these smaller reefs stable is so much more challenging. It's just so, I can appreciate it. It's impressive to be able to keep a small body of water you know, stable long term, because fluctuations can happen so fast. If you just think about the density of the livestock for that volume of water. And this might even be set up as like an all-in-one system. I'm waiting here to see if there's an overflow or just a hang on. Heaters in the tank and everything. So this must be just like a little all-in-one system where you don't have a sump or anything separate. And if that's the case, it's all the more impressive. Yeah, you got a hang-on filter on there. See, you can do a lot, even with just a standard glass tank, a hang-on filter, heater, and you know, a decent circulation pump. You can get a lot accomplished in terms of reefing, and I think this is a great example of that. It's a great little tank. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's looking really good. Like, I mean, look at the growth even on the SPS in this tank. Like, we've got, I think it's probably a ponape bird's nest or ponape, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But either way, it's a seriatopper of some kind, some sort of bird's nest, and it's branching out and doing well. Like that's, again, you can't fake growth. It looks pretty good. It looks like it's been growing in that tank for a while. If anything, a touch pale, but that could just, again, be the aesthetic of having the whites pumped up a little higher. Honestly, for a 20-gallon tank running with just a hang on the back skimmer and an AI prime and a Jabal pump and a heater, killing it. Really nice. Yeah, if anything, just watch those nutrients, make sure everything's in check, and maybe just a little bit of elbow grease in terms of side fitting and manual removal of some of that algae that you can see in there, and that's it. Like, you're obviously on a super stable path. Things are looking good. Corals are looking happy. Lucas. Awesome. Next up, we've got, and forgive me again if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Raki Elisio Hausen. Whoa. Stellar rockwork, very interesting scape. Interesting. So this is a decent sized tank for sure. Lots of anemones, very cool fish in here. A bunch of tangs, some that we don't see as often. I think that's probably a chocolate tang or a mimic tang. Got a blue tang in there too. The trigger I noticed right away. I'm not sure what trigger it was. Couldn't see super well because we were pulled back, but fox face in there as well. There we go. Look at that trigger. What is that, a pinktail? Thick looking trigger. Happy trigger. Lots of euphyllia in this tank. Man, that rockwork is so cool. It's such an interesting scape. It takes up a lot of the real estate in the tank, so I'm assuming you're probably not going SPS dominant on the system just based on what we've got in there so far. But I love the very cool mixture of like plating type rocks and then arch style rocks, and then we've even got some branching stuff up at the top. And you've just created this. The rockwork has this massive presence in the tank, but is clearly just got so much open space in and around it. It's such an interesting scape. Very, very cool. Might actually be my favorite part of the whole tank. That and those clownfish, enjoying that. They look like Clark eyes, or yeah, those look like Clark eye. Just enjoying that bubble tip. Man, lots of water motion too, looking really nice. Naso in there as well. Heavy on the blues with the filming, but I can handle it. Lots of water movement. It looks like you got probably a gyre pump, perhaps. I'm just looking at the surface rippling. The rockwork comes so high up in the tank, which is something you don't always see. But again, I think that's what's doing it. Like the Euphilia garden that you're closing in on right now is really, really nice. And I love that sway that the corals have. It's so pleasing. But I think that's it. I think that's why the rockwork is so, so interesting to me. So I love that it in the tank has this huge presence because there's so much rock. It comes very close to the glass, but at the same time has so much negative space and so many holes in between and around it. Great collection of corals. I mean, I'm a sticks guy. I love SPS. Like, they're high on my list, but I have a massive appreciation for like a really nice, Euphilia garden or collection of softies and LPS in a tank together. And in, like big anemone tanks or tanks that have large groups of anemones or even just one large anemone like a Magnifica or like carpet anemones, Ritterai. It's just so much fun. Really, really nice. Oh, I see you got what is that pump? Whatever it is, it's in the tank. And I don't think it's a gyre. But it's doing a good job, creating a lot of water motion, a nice swaying motion in there. Very cool. Your fish are so personable too. I love it when fish are just super comfortable with, people being in front of the tank and filming and stuff, and they're just getting in the way and being like, feed me, it's my turn, I need to eat. And then you're like, I just fed you like 10 minutes ago. And they're like, I don't care, I want more. I also really love that with your rockwork, you created a bit of a golden ratio and rule of thirds where your anemone island on the left is smaller than your coral island that's on the right. And the division between the two looks like it's left justified towards that smaller island. It's a very natural aquascape. It's the aesthetic of the rockwork is just really got my attention. I wouldn't have thought that somebody's rockwork would have got me all tripped up like that. It's really cool. I really dig it. I was not expecting that. You don't see that as often. You see similar scapes like that, but they're usually much lower in the tank to accommodate all that, like SPS coral growth and stuff. So it's just really cool. Really, really cool. I feel like I'm much deeper in the ocean than I normally would be when looking at a reef tank. And I gotta say, for a tank that's only 1 year old, Raki, it is awesome. It is doing really, really well. Those fish look fantastic. The only thing that I could even try to pick on, based on what I can see in the video, is maybe the sand bed is perhaps, hard to tell, small picture, but maybe perhaps could use like a siphoning. It looks like you might have potentially some debris down there. But again, it's hard to tell. It could be purposeful too, right? You could have taken like your standard aragonite, special grade aragonite substrate from like Carib Sea and then mixed in some small crushed coral and also some, frag rocks or small chunks of live rock to add some texture to it. And if that's what you did, then obviously I'm picking on nothing. So really cool. Next up, we've got Than Trong. Again, hopefully I'm pronouncing everybody's name right. Very cool. Oh, I'm stopping it right there. I just saw something. I'm pretty sure I've seen either somebody else or possibly your pictures of this before, but right at the beginning of the video, you've got this awesome Groot with like coral for hair. Groot with coral for hair. Is anybody else freaking out about how cool that is? Man, that is so much fun. And just this awesome bonsai of rockwork, like it looks like a bonsai tree or something, just covered in just screaming zoanthids. A couple of what look like mushrooms with zoanthids. Oh, look at that. What a distraction. Lots of really, really nice, colorful corals. No wonder you're all blues today. Oh, look at that. This tank is so much bigger than I first thought. So it's another peninsula style, which I'm a big fan of. Rock in the apex. Very nice. Very, 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 woo! Full-time apex display. I'm a fan. Very cool. Oh yeah, giving props to all of, I love the stickers on that cabinet. That's awesome. Giving props to all those companies and reefers and showing the love. Holla Reef boy, holla at your boy. Got a couple types of Grandis there too, which are really nice. So I'm pretty used to seeing the that mottled Grandis that has like the brown or purple center with the like lighter pale, kind of like a blue-green striation in it. I think they're called cinnamon Grandis a lot of the time. Anyways, super used to seeing those. Those super bright, I don't know if they're nuke greens or just another type of Grandis that happens to look like nuke greens, but those are intense. Really nice coral. That one chalice you got there on the rock that looks like 2 red pieces of pizza mixed in with several green pieces of pizza, that's how clean those divisions are. That is a sweet, sweet looking chalice. Very cool. Screaming orange mushrooms too. You're a collector. I can tell you like to collect the finest of corals. You even have some SPS in this tank too. So like when you pull back a little bit there, I paused it so I can have a good look at what you got going on. You've got copper band in there. Not the easiest fish to keep. Super rewarding if you can keep them. They're just a beautiful fish. Looking pretty good. You've got again, powder blue. Not the easiest fish to keep of the tangs. One of the more difficult ones. I usually consider them just a step or two below trying to keep like an Achilles tang, which tend to be the toughest. Rockwork in this tank is really, really nice too. Super airy rockwork, lots of space in and around and underneath the rockwork. From down below, like as you're panning and filming, you can see straight through. Like it's just making contact points with the bottom, but lots and lots of flow through. So detritus buildup should be less of an issue. I think you're using a black substrate perhaps. It could just be the blues cranked up. And it looks like you might, again, can't super easily see it, but you might have a little bit of algae buildup or cyano or something on the bottom there. And if I'm wrong, I'm just seeing it wrong because the blues are pumped up and things look funny. Feel free to correct me. I'm also a fan of, I think I can see you squeak by it super fast, but I think I see one of, oh yes, I am right. I pause it and I can see that you've got a tube anemone in there. And tube anemones are few and far between. I feel like they're an underappreciated, very, very cool critter that you can keep in your tank. You got a really nice one. It looks like it's primarily orange with a green mouth. Pretty sure that's what I'm looking at. Very, very cool. Always a big fan of tubes. Tube anemones, not just like tubes. People are gonna just start sending me shots of tubes hanging off their tank. Heard you like tubes, Thomas. Very cool. Not giving me any extra details or information on the equipment. I think I may have just seen the light. I'm gonna backtrack here a bit, see if I can. It's hard to say. It looks like it might even be a hybrid fixture with a couple of radions with the diffusers on them. Am I right? Am I wrong? Where am I at? I kind of wish you showed me all sides of it. I'm guessing you just picked your favorite positions or parts of the tank and just showed me those, which I'm not gonna fault anyone for, showing me the part that you like best. Totally, totally awesome. Dan, that was a really nice trip through some really psychedelic looking corals. Very, very nice. Whoa, a lot of fire in that tank. Than, awesome tank. Really fun way to end this episode of BRStv Reacts. Totally, totally digging our little group friend there with his Euphilia afro. Super, super cool. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted today. It's a lot of fun to check out what you, the reefing community, get up to. It's a lot of inspiration for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you out there really get a kick out of seeing all of the different interesting ways we all get up to reefing, the different cool scapes, the kinds of corals we like to keep, how you can have, just a 20-gallon with a basic hang-on skimmer and a pump versus like a tank that's full-blown apex driven and everything. Very, very fun. If you want your tank seen on this here show, you can go ahead and check out that comment that's pinned at the top below, or just hashtag your post BRStv Reacts, and we'll find it. And make sure you do it, because I don't want to stop doing this. This is awesome. It's so much fun. So yeah, and if you want to check out some of the past ones we've done, all that fun we got up to, they're right here.